Welcome to You Matter in Business. Your hosts today are Ariel, me, and Miriam.
Your heart, your brand story, and your success because you matter in your business.
Welcome back to You Matter in Business. I'm Ariel Faith, and this is Miriam Richardson. We're going to talk about something that some of us love and something that some of us don't, and that is social media. So, hi, Miriam. How's your week going?
Not too bad actually. Spring has sprung, so yeah, the weather's good. So yeah, it's all good.
All good.
And you?
Spring has sprung. Um, I have a couple questions for you. We're going to take different platforms and just kind of discuss some of the goods and the bads and the uglies
Mm.
of each of these platforms. And we're going to talk first about Facebook. And I know that you live more on Facebook than you live on other platforms. Um, or that is your channel
I
of
guess that's my
choice, you want to
yeah, that's
call
my
it.
yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Facebook.
Okay.
Um, and I want to know from your experience and your knowledge, the demographics that are generally on Facebook and how
Uh-huh.
that has evolved, and who do you see as the core audience now on Facebook in particular? And then we'll get a little deeper into that.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, I can preempt this. First of all, I think over the next three episodes that we're going to do, I think, well, I've certainly, whilst I've been looking at them, doing a bit of research in the background for these podcasts, I think there's some interesting information that we're going to bring up, which I think people might find really useful for their own businesses. So they might well grab a notebook and just sit down and think about it. Certainly, I think from my age group of women. So full disclosure, I'm 50. Um, I think that probably social media is something that we hate rather than we love to a certain extent. Certainly hate it more than the younger generation, let's put it that way, and because we've not grown up with it, and it's something that we've had to adapt to and evolve into. So that's my kind of precursor. In my coaching courses, I tell people to take a social media break because actually I don't like social media at all, and I think that we spend a lot of time scrolling through rubbish which wastes a lot of time and actually can have a disadvantage mentally for us because of the comparison type things. Having said that, all social media is really powerful. The internet is really powerful. And I think if you can use it constructively and well, I think all of the platforms in their various forms, and we're going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn specifically in the next 3 weeks, all of them have their place. All of them are very powerful. All of them can be utilized for business owners, which is what we're going to be kind of primarily talking about in terms of social media. So you asked social media, Facebook's demographic. Yes, it has evolved. So Facebook was one of the primary ones that opened up. So it used to have like a blanket, everybody used to use it. But the younger age group has now kind of moved away from Facebook, and it's more for, I think, for the 35 to 65-year-olds. So that places me slap bang right in the middle of it. So perhaps that's why I feel most comfortable with it. I think it's easy to, its platform is easy to use. Its interface is quite easy. So I think probably people of my age group probably engage with it easier than they might do some of the other platforms. So I think because of that, because its demographic is people like me, that's really powerful for business owners. And the reason for that is because women between 35 and 65 tend to have a huge amount of buying power and influence over their family. And for that reason, I think Facebook is key to business owners, particularly if they're focusing on women, and particularly if they're focusing on the women between 35 and 65. Does that make sense? I think.
Oh, 100%. Yes. And that's 100% backs up all the information that I've learned too. Facebook has a very interesting, I mean, I remember using it back in the day, and for whatever reason, I got out of it. And my mother lives on it. It has some really cool powers. It has some really neat things about finding lost relatives. So there's a lot of really neat things. But when it comes to business, without actually paying for ads, I
Mhm.
don't know if you pay for ads or not.
I have paid for ads. I haven't found that they've been um, particularly beneficial, or but that maybe that was my ads, or maybe it's just because my coverage isn't huge, or my following isn't huge. I know that people do pay for ads, and I think we're
And
going to
that
talk about
applies to all of these,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Every one of
absolutely.
these has a ad form. And each one is a little different. And I heard that if you buy a Facebook ad, now don't quote me on this, but it's worth researching. Probably should have before this episode, but um, I just heard this the other day that if you pay for a Facebook ad, it would automatically go to Instagram ads too, which I don't know if that's true. So don't quote me on that, but it's worth at least knowing. Whereas if you pay for an Instagram ad, it might not push to Facebook.
Interesting.
That's
Okay, well,
what
next week we're going to be talking about Instagram, so maybe we could just clarify that
I'll
one.
clarify that. Yeah. Okay. And I know who told it to me, who told me that. So I will get the answer. Okay. So now, why is it relevant for business women? When you know Facebook is global and you can offer services global, you can because you're a life coach, right? I can because I travel, but travel obviously adds to the expense of my service. Um, so I can work anywhere and I will because I love to travel. But predominantly, you look for relatively local customers, people you can sit with, you can talk with, especially with photography and working with the brand story, marketing aspect. The more I have face to face, the more depth I get. So I, obviously have to work with a demographic. So, how does that, is there a way to like find your demographic, like physical demographic?
Yeah, and that's one of the really good things about Facebook is that their algorithm does that, particularly through their paid advertising, in that they you can narrow it down to a particular demographic, a particular geographical location, a particular subsections of the community, so that you can look at their interests and their behaviours, look at different things like new life events, like engagements or moving into a new home or starting a new job, or having a new baby or that kind of thing, which you can, if that matches. I mean, if you were a wedding photographer, you might well be looking at people who've just got engaged, because you would think that they would then be starting to plan their wedding. New babies, maybe if you've got baby clothes, or but so yeah, so the algorithm searches for, and also you can look for you can look for lookalikes of your existing customers. So it can target people who buy from, who are like who are demographics that are like your existing customers, which is really good. So anyone who's already bought a dietary supplement, it can target. If you were a dietary supplement provider, it would target other people that had already bought it. So they're already in that market, are already warmed up.
Looking for solutions.
Exactly, and it's relevant to them. Um, and you can also do it. It can target people, custom it from your email list, so that it can take your clients and or your existing contacts and target them as well.
Okay.
So that's really powerful.
Okay. Now, what about the Facebook groups? I know one of the only reasons I actually go into Facebook is to because of the groups. So,
Mm.
because I'm in way too many, but I know there's certain ones that were very valuable at certain points. Like we have a local community one
Mhm.
that is great when the electric's out and you want to find out
Yeah,
what
yeah.
just happened. Just it's local hubbub is what it is. But um, I'm also in a lot of different women educator groups that are filled with women business owners. And so I'm in groups that have people who are my potential world, right? They either think the same or they work the same or they're trying to achieve the same goal, something. There's some commonality. So how can business owners leverage these for community building?
Okay, well, I mean, Facebook groups I think are really powerful, and I certainly use them in my coaching business as well. So they become a powerful tool because they create a two-way conversation. So it's not just you broadcasting, but that actually you're listening back and getting feedback as well, and it allows you to be able to engage with your potential customers and discuss things with them, and it enables you to do market research. Or do you know what? I think the most powerful ones are actually the ones that create a focus around solving a particular problem. So, for instance, if you were a fitness coach, for instance, and you might want to create a group for busy mums wellness circle. So that's, there's their problem is wound up in the name of the group. So you know who it's for, you know what it's trying to achieve, but it allows them to build that community, and it's that emotion that you get through having other people communicating with you about things that are relevant, current for you, and therefore you're more likely to engage, you're more likely to buy things that other people in that group have already bought, or that are able to give testimonies about. So that's really important. But you need to be like with anything on social media. In the groups, you have to be consistent. You can't just start a group and then not feed the beast. You need to be making sure that you're posting consistently, and it has to be valuable content, not just, hi guys, how are you doing? It needs to be valuable content, giving them information, giving away free bits of just tidbits so that they're asking questions about it and interacting. It's that interaction in groups that you're really looking for.
So
And
from a business standpoint, by this group, you are building something. What are you building?
you're building a community, but you're also building a customer base.
And
Um,
and they're developing a knowledge about you that they know you, they
yeah, know you,
like
trust you.
you, or they
Yeah,
will leave, right? And then
yeah.
they begin to trust you after you. So it builds that authority and that it builds you as the guide in the group rather than the center of the group, right?
Yeah, and through that you can demonstrate that you are the expert, you are the guide, by showing that empathy for, you usually you can say, I've been exactly where you are. If it's this busy mums in a wellness group, I know where you are. I've been through that. And here are my experiences. But also you can build that authority as well, can't you, by dropping in tidbits of, so when I was in your shoes, I found this really useful. And so you build up that trust with them, that they can see who you are as a person. They can build that kind of relationship with you, and they're more likely to buy from you.
Okay, so if a person is not very Facebook friendly,
Mhm.
and they want to use it for business, do you have a suggestion whether they should start a group or just enter groups that are similar and see if they can build that community within an existing one? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
my thoughts would be, to start with, I would join other groups first, see how they work, see how they interact with each other. I think nobody wants to go into a group and then suddenly be bombarded by a sales pitch. They are more likely, you need to kind of, I think there's a 60-20.
80/20 is what I heard. I don't know
it,
about
it
Facebook, but or yeah, it's
it's six
80% conversation, 20% sales or something like that.
um it's 60-30-10.
60/30/10.
60-30-10, and it's 60% is providing them with knowledge. uh,
Education.
education. 30% is building relationships, trust, and authority. And then it's
10.
10% is the sales bit. And
Yeah.
you want to kind of almost lead them into that. It's almost like you're leading them
The
up the garden
nurturing
path.
sequence. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And but so when you join other people's groups as well, you don't want to go straight in there and go, "Hi, I'm a life coach. Come and buy from me." Instead, try and although that's what we want to do, isn't it? We want to put out our business cards and people want people to flock to us, but it doesn't work like that. You need them to come because they know, like, and trust you, that you've built up that, as you've said, that empathy and that authority. Show them that you are the guide, that you've been there, that they like you, that they trust you. They can see that other people like and they trust you. So that's what I would do. I would join other people's groups, see how it works, and then maybe you can develop your group off from that one. Almost go like, oh, by the way, I've got one that specializes in, if you're interested,
Blank. Yeah.
here's the link to it. Or if you want to be invited, it's a private one. So, drop me a line if you'd find that useful. But give to people. People like to get freebies. So the more that you can give to them, um, then they're more likely to come and eventually become your customer and eventually buy from you.
Yeah. And it's more of an invitation to rather than a like call to action. It's more like, here's my invite. You can tell me whether you want to come or not. Like the RSVP. It's more like that kind of a communication at that point rather than a buy now, buy now.
And if it can be relevant to the conversation in the group that you've joined, oh, I can see a lot of you on here are talking about. Um,
Hmm.
Completely get that, and I've got another group of people that are also talking about it. Come and join us.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
kind of thing, and it just develops that kind of, oh, okay, she's on here, she's also got another one of her own, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I know, because there's so many different Facebook groups,
Yeah.
uh, that you can get overloaded, but some of them become very inactive after a while. So by joining others, you kind of see the ones that become stagnant and
Mm.
they haven't posted in 2 years. Well, that's not a group you necessarily want to join because it's not really active. So sometimes we have to kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And if you're running those groups, that's why I say you need to be consistent. You can't just like start one and then drop it unless it's for something specific. And so I use Facebook groups for coaching in groups, and it's a time bound thing. So mine, I do a monthly challenge, and everybody that's on that, that buys into that monthly challenge gets put into a private Facebook group that only they can be in, and it's their support group, their support squad, and their accountability. So but it only is, so it's time bound. It's only for that month, and then I post regularly on that group during that month for those people, to how are you getting on with, we've been talking about, show everyone else some support, tell us what you've been, those kind of things, chivying people along and showing them some love and that kind of stuff. And then other people put there, right, this is what I've been doing today, and this is what I've been eating, this is how I've been interacting. So that's time bound. So once I've reached the end of the month, that's it, that one gets dissipated and deleted, and that never happens again. But other ones, if you're going to start it, you need to have a plan, put in place. What are you going to talk about in January? Or what are you going to talk about in the first week of January? What are you going to talk about in the second week of January? And make it specific and relevant, and make sure that you give people the opportunity to interact. It's not a one-way street. It's not meant to be you punching things at them. It's meant to be getting that engagement, and creating that conversation and interacting.
I know some of the groups that I've entered through the years were also class related. So there, you took a course, and then that was the way that the group. Of course, people use other things now, like Slack, Circle, and some of those others. But Facebook is also a way that is actually relatively inexpensive. To You can host live
Yeah.
sessions with the group. You can host little 5 minute, hey, today's goal is, and give a, so you can kind of keep the group active if it's just, for a month or a week or whatever that process is. I've done a
Yeah.
lot of those challenges for, a 5-day class, and all of the content is basically inside that Facebook group. So that's another useful tool if you have a product like that you want to create some kind of a lead generator using this. So that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So what about the
Yeah.
algorithms? Because we all love algorithms. Facebook algorithm, it does favor certain types of content, but what format and approaches work best for business visibility?
Okay.
That
So
is our biggest challenge.
I know, and this darn algorithm, and they change it. So, what's relevant today may not be in 6 months' time, and wasn't right at the beginning.
You're always
But
chasing the golden goose.
yeah, so the thing, yeah, absolutely. So it used to be likes, if the number of likes that you got, that boosted your algorithm. But now actually it's things that encourage genuine discussion. That they perform much better than those that are just simple engagement. So it's got to be actually the one that's working at the moment, and you'll know this because you'll have seen them everywhere. It's these live video contents, and that's the one that right now is the one that is trending. That's the one that seems to do the best. So it's things that pose authentic questions, that people want to get involved in the discussion. So also the ones that share the behind the scenes glimpses at your business. People love that. They like having that insider information. Tells personal stories related to your business journey. That's really good as well. And people like to see where you've come from, and where you're going. And also they love the freebies. So anything that gives them valuable tips or insights, or, in my, in my role, things, little tools or strategies that, but the key is to actually start that conversation. So if you can try and get people to go, yeah, this is so fantastic, I understand this now, or oh, thank goodness you've said that, I was really wondering about that, and it gets that backwards and forwards conversation, and generates something. So and they don't tell you what the algorithm does not like, and that is things where you put external links to external things out of Facebook. Hates it.
Really?
Yeah, which is good for you because yours never work. Um,
Well, yeah, I know. I have it. My whoever had my domain before me must have done something and pissed Facebook off, because I cannot use the domain name in, I don't know who that person is, but thank you very much because you're messing with my.
aerialfaith.com, it throws it out every time. So every time I post something that's got you involved in it, I can't tag you in it because aerialfaith.com doesn't work. It
But
hates
you
it.
you can tag, you could, I have to use like a link tree
Yeah.
to for those because it's super annoying, but
But
link.
actually the algorithm doesn't like it anyway. So it likes you to keep things within Facebook.
Well, that's
So
nice to know. See, useful tips. Thank
I
you.
know.
I don't play much in Facebook, so if you find me over there, I do like occasionally pop in, but I'm afraid if you want to have a conversation with me, you have to go to a different platform or call me, really, right? Just get on the phone, text, I don't care. Send an email, whatever works. Just get off the stupid social media. No, I'm only kidding. Um, okay,
I'm
so
with you.
just take a moment for a slight interruption. We wanted to share some exciting news.
Exceptional women professionals often struggle to communicate their expertise. Rediscover, refine, rebrand women's retreats provide a transformative, intimate experience that help clarify your unique identity so you are self-confident and courageous, stand out in your industry, and enjoy effective marketing.
Join us on one of these retreats. Go to aerialfaith.com and choose your date that fits your schedule. Reserve your exclusive spot with a simple deposit and then enjoy tailored planning tips and details from us to get ready for this inspiring experience. In the meantime, if you can like, share, and comment on this podcast, we'd appreciate the love. Thank you. We talked a little bit about this before, so we're going to talk about it a little bit deeper. But when it comes to Facebook paid advertising, how does it differ from the other platforms, and what unique targeting? You talked about a little bit about this, but dig a little deeper. The unique targeting options that you could have as a business owner that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, so as I said, it targets specific demographics. So the key difference from other platforms is the ability to create sophisticated like audience segments, and that's on a combination of their behaviors and their interests. And this makes it really effective for businesses with niche products or services, so that you can actually drill down further than just women or that kind of thing. So it does take all of their it looks deep into what their life events are. So as I said about getting engaged or having a baby or buying a new home.
Kind of scary that this algorithm knows all this stuff, isn't it?
I know. Big Brother is definitely watching you. Back to
Facebook is Big Brother. Yeah, 1984. I had to read that book too.
Love it. But yeah, so it knows your interests and your behaviors. And that's why when you start searching for, let's say, flights to New York, suddenly your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed or whatever comes up with adverts for, oh, look at us, we've just opened a new flight from
I know,
Orlando
it's
to
annoying.
New York.
It's like, okay, I already bought a course. I don't need 20 other ones.
Exactly. When I first became a life coach, I was absolutely bombarded with people wanting to coaches. And eventually you're like, I'm done with this now. So you can actually click to get rid of them. You can say, I don't want any more like this. And if you're persistent with it, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. But it will then pick up the next thing that you search for. So if you're then in the market for a new
anything embarrassing.
yeah, a new pair of knickers, up come, all of those hold me in
all
knickers.
The knickers.
Yeah. Or
or women in knickers. No, thank you.
but if you buy a new dog and you start posting pictures of your puppy, you'll get all the Chewy adverts, or you'll get all of the So yeah, it's scarily.
Gathering data. Yeah.
The whole country has been talking about TikTok. One which we're not going to be talking about, because I don't know about you, but I'm not going there. But how much information does it gather about us? And it's not just TikTok. And I think TikTok's the issue is because it's not American owned, and
right.
It's China owned. But
we're allowed to do it to ourselves, but not other countries.
And since they brought in these algorithms, these social media platforms have become so much more targeted and more powerful because of the algorithm, and it works really well. And if you contain the beast, if you can work out what the algorithm's strengths are, then it's a really powerful sales tool. Or let's not even go down the sales tool. It's a communicator. It's a community builder, because anyway, it's worth trying. The thing is with social media, firstly, you can't get rid of it. So once it's there, you can't get rid of it. So don't do anything stupid like take your clothes off on any of the social media sites, because you'll never get rid of it. So once it's out there,
you'll also have a hard time getting a job. I mean, some of this stuff shows up, don't underestimate when they're looking for a candidate. They'll go to their social media pages, and if all they see is you partying, your friends may think that's great, but they may not as a potential employer. So that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, it's public. It's like having it printed in the newspaper in today's world.
Yeah, absolutely. And also your even things like your political affiliation, anything like that can stop you from getting a job. So be really careful, because it is such a powerful tool, scarily, in good ways and bad ways.
Yep, I hear you. Okay, so one more thing about Facebook that we might want to discuss is the whole story versus feed posts. And I know Instagram has a similar thing, and I don't know
Yeah.
if they're the same, but we'll find out later. But when it comes to stories versus posting to your feed, and then if you're a business owner, you have to have a business page. So that like is a triple layer. You have your personal account, and then you have your business page, which you can like a business page, but you can't follow a business. How's that work?
Yeah. You can't follow it. You have to, you like it. So the difference, so the stories are the little things that appear at the top of the screen. And actually a lot of, certainly the younger generation, that's what they concentrate on is the stories. And in Instagram, they're called the reels, I think. Or it might be an Instagram story as well. But
I think
anyway,
it's a story. Yeah.
so it's the stories at the top. But they're time sensitive, so they disappear after a certain amount of time, whether it's 24 hours or however long it is. So they're really, really good. And I think they're powerful as well because you can actually embed links into those stories as well. So you can actually click on the story and it will then, if you want to, you can link to and go to, you could put a post on, and I do this, so I tend to put a post on and then I'll put a snippet of that post into my story with a link to my post so that you can then, like, you can just use that story just for 24 hours. And you'll find actually, if you do that, that the number of people that are getting onto your story is higher because of these, because people tend to click on those little pictures at the top. So it's a powerful tool, but as I say, you have to use it consistently. You can use them for little behind the scenes glimpses, quick tips or daily updates, that kind of thing. Really good for polls or any interactive content. So that's, the stories are really good for that. Whereas posts are better if it's for something that you want, it's got any longevity in it. They call it evergreen content, don't they?
Right.
It lasts a bit longer. And that those educational posts, because in the stories you can put usually just a photograph with just a few words on it. It's not something where you're going to be telling a life story or putting any educational content on it. But so if you want to, you could put a snip in your story and then link to a post, a bigger post that says what you actually want to talk about. So you
Now,
can put the hook.
can you, like, if I go onto your site and I like, well, I know I've done it, so I like something that you posted, I can post it to my story, can't I? Or can
Yeah,
I also post it to my feed?
both. So you go to share, and then it gives you the option of, you can share it on as a post or you can share it to your story.
Okay.
So you can
And
do
if you
it
post it to a post, it's now part of your
like on
evergreen.
your wall. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what it used to be called. I don't think they call it that anymore. Certainly, you post on your own wall, but I haven't heard that phrase for quite a while. But
Paid. What I
page,
hear more than anything. Yeah, but I know what you meant. Your
maybe
Facebook wall.
wall,
That
but
was like old school. Woo! Took me
but
back.
is that because I think the original one was called MySpace. Do
There
you
was a
remember MySpace?
MySpace.
Do you remember that?
I
Or
never got
maybe
into
that was a
MySpace, but I know that was a real popular one back in the. I remember the avatar rooms. Do you remember those where you'd go in and you'd be like a little bubble in a 3D world, and you'd go sit in a jacuzzi as some weird character, and you'd have these conversations in these chat rooms. You remember that?
no, that
Like
sounds
this is
really
in the
bizarre to me.
80s, late
Yeah,
80s. We were because we developed the 3D rooms. That's one of the things we did at that day. But little silly avatar rooms. So kind of like what we're doing now. We're in a room, but we're not really in a room.
yeah, no, you're really scary. No, that's just not right. Anyway, so there is a ratio that apparently works for Facebook when you're talking about stories and posts. So they say a good ratio is, and I hate this idea, 2 to 3 stories per day and 4 to 5 feed posts per week. Now, I think that's a massive amount on any social media site. But if you're really interacting with it and it is your main form of sales, then that's what they think. So 2 to 3 per day on your story, and then 4 to 5 feeds per week
Yeah,
on.
I'll never play in that world. The one thing I find interesting about all of these is I remember the day that people used to pay for marketing. I mean, they still do, obviously, but I mean, if you were a small business, you would get in that little book that came around the house. You would get in the local magazine that was shared in the community. You would get in the newspaper. You would put your ad in different places. That was a part of business, was the need to advertise yourself to get people to know that you exist, right? Um, Obviously, if you're in a strip mall and you're in a great location, that's a whole nother conversation, but you still do that to get people to the strip mall. So it was still a part of normal process. You paid for a yellow page ad over a regular telephone ad, which cost an incredible amount of money if you look back at those costs, and the time of those costs. The all of that kind of disappeared, and the internet became the way to do all this, and it's all free. Of course, now it's not quite as free, because to really get reach and to really get the market you want, you have to do the ads. And they do get, I heard the other day, $30 a day. You think about that, how much that is in a year. I mean, that's a lot of advertising dollars.
You can set your budget like you can on Google Ads as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Google Ads is quite a good way of doing it, but you can set your limit. You say, I only want to spend this amount of money, like $2 a day or $1 a day, but that then limits the amount of exposure that you're going to get. So, but yeah, I mean, there are
$10,000, actually almost 11 a year, just to put Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Then you do Instagram ads, and then, you know what I mean? That's
Google ads.
Even getting any return for your investment. That's the good question. So you could have spent $10,000 working with a really good marketing agency and gotten a much better plan that isn't social media centered.
Yeah.
It's just, we as business owners, we really got to think through some of these numbers.
Yeah, do the math again. But
that one shocked me.
As going back to where we were talking earlier, is about these groups. If you can target those groups that have that are your demographic, if you can work out who they are and where these groups sit, and then nurture them through you posting regularly, you commenting on other people's posts or other people's comments. Say, if someone's really struggling with something, you be the one to jump in and give them guidance, not necessarily, oh, I've got a product for that. Or as my husband always goes, oh, I've got a solution for that. But if you can offer, if you can say, oh, mate, I really feel for you. Have you tried, something, and come alongside people in those groups, that you get that, instead of having one person that you're talking to however many people there are in that group. And some of these groups can be massive and very unwieldy, but your post is getting out there, and then they might search you out. They might go, oh, Ariel just gave some really good information. I wonder who she is.
Check her out, follow you, or whatever. Yeah.
And then ask to be on your groups and all that kind of stuff. So it can grow exponentially if you're really targeted about it and want to spend time on it.
Yeah, I know, as business owners, and particularly smaller business owners, and and we do have, there's VAs out there, there's for the virtual assistants, and we do have the social media managers, and we do have, so you have to create the content to put on there, right? You have to get the photos and the videos and the reels and all the other things. You have to take the time to make all that. Then you have to take the time to write all that. Then you have to take the time to interact with all that. Well, some of us are having a hard enough time just getting our work done, let alone adding all of that extra time onto our table. So there are ways of pulling other people in as, temporary or like part-time staff that you can have them do it. But this is a personal pet peeve, so I'll just share it. But if I'm talking to somebody and I get a DM, I get a direct message from somebody, and it's presenting themselves as the owner of this company, and I realize I am talking to a VA person, I'm not happy personally. This is just me, because if I'm talking to somebody who works with that person, I'd rather know that. Tell me that. Don't make me think this person is spending all this extra time with me when they are not. To me, that's deception. Um, so I literally just told, I'm working with a new VA right now, and I just had this conversation. And I said, if you direct message somebody, I want you to make sure they know that you are working with me. You are part of my team, not you are me.
Mm.
And that's just me. I just want that to be clear from the very beginning of a conversation, because a part of my team is just as good. But obviously, even if she comments, I don't want her to pretend she's me.
No,
Do you know what I
no,
mean?
I get that all the time, and that it does annoy me too. I also get a lot of the time I get, and this is not particularly on Facebook, this is more on LinkedIn, that oh, I've spotted your profile. Can I help you with such and such?
SE, I get the million of those emails. It's like, please stop.
Yeah, I'm done with that. But apparently direct messaging does work. I can't see it because it doesn't work for me. It's not something that I would buy from if somebody direct messages me if I don't know who they are or what their service is.
And they're
Uh,
not even the same as what they're like. Usually they're not even connected. It's just like
yeah,
somebody that was hired to, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
because they say don't reply here, reply there. And it's like,
nah.
nah. So I agree. But, we've talked about authenticity a ton. So to me, this blends with that. If you're going to trust me, if I show up on social media, it's me. If somebody else is helping me, they're going to show up as my helper,
Yeah,
right? That's just how it is. And I don't mind sharing that I have a helper, because that's how all of us get all this stuff done. If you want me to be on social media commenting on everybody's posts and be out on the site doing a photo shoot and editing, and there's only so much of me to go around. So you have to share the love, right?
yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that because actually people like to buy from bigger organizations that are, that have got people that work for them as well. So there's no shame in saying, Ariel's asked me to give you a quick message because, or something like that. Yeah, but just yeah, be honest about it. The other thing I was going to say is all of these things you can schedule as well. And the good thing to do is at the beginning of the month or the beginning of the year or the beginning of the week, decide what you're going to put on to social media. Have a look at what's trending, what's going on in your spheres, what other people are talking about. There's no shame in having a look at what's happening on your LinkedIn feed and going, oh, she's got a really good idea. I'm going to rewrite that, change it around, put my own spin on it, and put it onto Facebook. There's no shame in transplanting because it's very difficult to come up with a completely unique idea. Usually it's been done before. So just by getting other help from other people as well, there's no shame in that. But schedule what you're going to put and make it relevant as well. If it's Valentine's Day coming up, talk about Valentine's Day. If it's Christmas, don't start talking about how hot it is well, it is in Florida, so maybe that's not a very good example. But do you know what I mean? But make it relevant to the
It's
time of
hot in Australia at Christmas time.
it was a really bad example, wasn't it? But you know what? You
No,
know
it's
what
a
I'm
good
trying to
example.
just try and be a little bit sympathetic to what's going on in the world around you. Don't put on things that are uncomfortable. And that's the problem with scheduling. If you pre-schedule something, you don't know that a volcano's just gone off in Iceland or that there's been a plane crash, or there's been, all those kind of things, which by scheduling it, you could be really unsympathetic by posting something that really doesn't talk to what the nation's going through at that moment or what that local community is going through at that moment. So that's just a be careful if you're going to pre-schedule things because it doesn't work all the time. Yeah.
So having a content planner of some sort, having a marketing campaign idea, all of those things help you identify who you're going to target the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year, and then your messaging can match that the words you use, the photographs you use, all of those things can have a purpose. It's not just like, oh, shoot, what am I going to talk about today? And you pull it out of your hat. When you have a plan, and I know we do a quarterly, I do with a small group. It's a kind of like a mastermindy group, but we do a quarterly social media content. So we think about what are we going to accomplish in the next quarter? And then we kind of create the plan for the next quarter. And then we do a monthly one where we get together and we talk about, okay, what's happening? Is there any silly days like, National Women's Day or hats to you or, because there's like a million days throughout the year, but sometimes you can play off that too. So which ones are you going to use? Which ones you aren't? Of course, there's always the events like Black Friday. How are you going to use that to your advantage or not? You can make the decision to not use that strategically. So there is lots of things that if you really give that marketing space to your business, you give that time, whether it's an hour a week that you focus on what you're going to do, or even several hours. I decided that I need to do a content day because I'm very much I live in a day. If I can get one task done in a day, that's good. And this is the kind of task that would take probably a good day of work.
Yeah.
And if I just focus on that one thing and like work on the things that I have on my list of to-dos and create all that content, and then I've got it for the next several months, maybe, if I just do that for that one, and then I can schedule it out and adapt to whatever's happening in the world. But if we don't take those proactive approaches and we're just flying by the seat of our pants, we're just going to be frustrated. We're going to be annoyed. We're going to feel invisible. And we're going to be like, I hate this stuff, which is how most of us feel.
You can also sort of build the anticipation, build the curiosity as well. You can also, so they call them funnels, don't they? So you're trying to funnel people down into buying from you or whatever it is that you want to get out of them at the end. So you start off with a, hey, how are you doing? And then it gets, oh, you're interested, but eventually gets smaller and smaller and smaller too, so that the option at the end is to buy, or the call to action is at the end. You draw them down through, and each time it's building that curiosity. Oh, I'm interested in what she's got to say. So I want to know more. How can I, how can I get a bit of this? How can I, whatever it is, but you build them down. And so very much key to your social marketing, social media planning is so starting off
it's all nurture,
and then moving it down into that call to action.
It's really a giant nurture campaign is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. When I think funnel, the word has never resonated with me, and I just figured out why. But when I think of funnel, I think of stuff being forced down because of gravity, right? You have no control over what happens to that fluid. You're sucked in, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like a vortex of power where you just really have no control. You just get sucked through the layers. But for me, the nurturing and the nurture campaign and that type of marketing, for me, is more like a filter. Because people who aren't in the right place will get filtered through. Because it's fine to not be in the right place for your product. Right? So it's not about, I want everyone to fit in this funnel. It's more like the people are choosing to stay in the filter because they're fitting into your, whatever it is you're trying, the little stuff filters out. It's kind of the opposite of a funnel, but the meatier clients would stay in, the larger clients, the ones that are closer to being able to buy, more interested in solving the problem that you're showing them the solution to, all of those things. So to me, it's more like you're filtered out. You're filtering out so that when you get on that call, it's not somebody who is absolutely wasting your time. And you're wasting theirs, because that's nobody wants to be the one who's wasting somebody's time or have somebody waste their time. So that filtering system kind of helps you teach, nurture, and then if you have the product or solution that they need, then they want to buy. That's what they want. They want to solve that problem.
So 95% of people that see your product for the first time aren't going to buy from you ever. because they're not interested in it, they're not in your demographic, they haven't got the problem that you're going to see, you want to solve, whatever. They're not at the point in their life where they can buy. There's a million reasons why people are not going to buy from you. So it's those 5 that you want, and that's what you're talking about. It's getting rid slowly by slowly, getting rid of the ones that are not going to buy, so that when you actually get to that call to action at the bottom of that filter, it's inevitable. That person has stayed in your filter for the whole way through, and so sale at the end is inevitable. And that makes that question, we talked about this in an earlier podcast, didn't we, about that, like actually asking them, well, are you now going to buy? It's inevitable. It's not.
Well, it's more like when can I start working with you? They have almost the opposite, because now they know they want what you're offering. They need what you're offering. So it's become more of a hunger for them than it is that pretty vase that sits on the counter that I think is nice, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't serve me at all. So it becomes more of a conscious, strategic, wise decision rather than a whim,
Yeah.
Okay, I think we Facebooked this one to death. What do you think? Anything else you want to add about Facebook before we close this episode?
No, just use it, abuse it, and then come off it.
We're going to talk more about social media breaks because I've done them frequently. They are very helpful to your brain. And when you wake up, don't grab your phone first thing.
No, live in the moment rather than in someone else's moment.
Or checking your emails, or, filling your mind immediately with all the things you have to do. And, oh, shoot, you don't want to do that first thing in the morning, especially when you're me, because I'm like half awake, which Okay, so let's wrap Facebook up, put it in a little basket. And then we'll come back again and we will talk about Instagram, some of the uniquenesses of Instagram and all of that fun stuff. So we will be back again.
Thanks, Ariel.
Thank you, Miriam, for all your research and expertise. Thank you.
See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success, because Ariel and I know you matter in your business.
Thank you for listening to the You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. We would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Photography and Enrich Life Coaching. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and Miriam and any guest speakers who share in our journey together.